So as you guys know, we talk a lot about making history, and for this team, um, we have to win this last game if we are going to be the winningest team in the regular season in the history of Auburn basketball. Right now, that um, I believe, I guess we're tied with the 21 team, and so that's certainly notable. Obviously, got a chance to sweep Alabama, which uh, is difficult to do, but let alone difficult to do when they're um, a top five team in the country. Um, and obviously, to be able to do that, we're going to have to play great basketball. We played one of our best games in Tuscaloosa. Um, Obviously, Alabama's the number one offensive team as far as number of points scored. Um, Perhaps the best three-point shooting team in college basketball, and one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the country. And obviously, that was a factor in a couple of our losses, particularly the losses to Texas A&M and Florida. And Alabama is right there as far as crashing the offensive glass and running all up and through you. They do a great job pursuing the ball. So we'll have to do uh, a great job in that area. Um, you got to defend the three-point line. You got to get back in transition. You got to keep them off the offensive glass. Easier said than done.
And Bruce, you have any update on Denver, how he's doing since
He
y'all
he
made
he
friends?
he moved around yesterday, and as you guys know, we'll practice this afternoon. And my anticipation is that he'll be able to go through practice, and then let's see after practice how he reacts to the load.
Bruce, senior day with a great group of seniors. Just talk a little bit about all that and the emotion that's
Yeah.
involved.
Well, what I'll try to do. Of course, of all, I'll always have a towel handy, but I just think that because this team has got uh, postseason aspirations, it's almost different than when I had some teams earlier in senior day when that last game truly was going to be one of the last games. Um, that postseason wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to last very long. So um, there's we have so much to play for in the future. It's really weird having senior night um, when you're not finished with your season. But just a great group: Denver and Chad, Cheney, Miles, Turtle, JP as players, and Will and Charlie and Tucker as managers. It's a great group, um, and they've experienced you know a period of success that is historical. I mean, Denver's been there 2 years, won two championships. Cheney, Chad, um, and obviously for Miles and Turtle and JP to come in and be able to win a championship, but still more to play for. Um, they've accomplished a lot of what they said to do individually and as a team, and it's an opportunity for us to say thank you.
Peter and then Nathan.
You mentioned the offensive rebounding and a couple of losses in the season. How that's a strength of Alabama's. How much of the improvement there is kind of just a will thing versus schematic maybe adjustments.
It's a great question. There's two aspects to it. Um, One of the things that really hurt us against Texas A&M was our inability to keep them in front. Alabama's going to attack the rim, and they're going to try to go by us. When they go by us, if help is drawn, which clearly Texas A&M drew help, then your backside rebounding is exposed, and that's where all those tip dunks took place. We held Texas A&M to about 33% shooting on their first shots, and they had about 76% on their second shots because they were all tip dunks. Alabama is one of the top 2-point field goal per shooting teams in the country because they do a great job at getting downhill, and they actually finish at a much higher rate than Texas A&M. So they're even harder to guard than Texas A&M is. and shoot better percentages from two, requiring more rotation, exposing your backside rebounding even more. So there is a schematic challenge. And then there obviously is, at the end of the day, just a will. I am beyond mystified at the kind of contact that is allowed, whether it be in a free throw checkout situation where, guys are just running through each other, or and so as a result, you've got to be able to hold your ground and then some.
Nathan and Gigi.
Bruce, you mentioned after the A&M game, you weren't sure whether Janai's shoulder was bothering him or whether he just wasn't able to make shots on the inside. Has he responded to that this week? And I guess how's he doing?
Yep, he was pretty sore after the Texas A&M game. There's just a lot of contact. More of it was just a stinger, which you've heard of. So he had a stinger, and it's just from the physicality of the game.
Yeah, VP, are you concerned about Janai from a scoring perspective when he's been, I guess, in a slump, if you want to call it that?
Well, I think look at the teams he played against. Kentucky and Texas A&M are two of the biggest teams on a schedule, right? Who's got bigger front lines than Kentucky or Texas A&M? Just probably Florida. And so I think part of it is a function of the fact that Texas A&M double teamed him every time he touched it. Florida had the size to play in 1-on-1, and because we shot the ball so well, he was fine to let those guys play inside-out basketball. So, no, I'm not concerned at all.
You don't think it's an injury not related to?
No, it's not related at all to any injury.
Alabama struggled at the rim defending lobs these last few weeks. Florida got them with Condon pretty good. You guys are no stranger to flying high above the rim. For breaking down some of their film defensively, the weaknesses are apparent. Are you guys going to try to exploit that Saturday? Or, like, I looked at a guy like Broom, who's 50% from three-point line last time you guys played. From a defensive standpoint, are they just not as good defensively as they've been in past years?
No, they're good defensively. They're athletic. Their offense is better than their defense. And when you say that, Florida took advantage of it at the rim, Florida has three guys that are 6'10 to 7, 6'10, 6'11. That Florida takes advantage of everybody at the rim.
Bruce, getting Todd going from deep again. You've talked about that. 6 of 10 the other night against A&M. Just how much more dangerous is this offense when you've got yet another guy kind of hitting like that with what Miles and Chad have been doing recently?
Well, you got to take what the defense gives you, and I think Denver and Miles and Chad and Tahad have been three consistent guards in our four of the most consistent guards in our league, and their ability to shoot the ball, the percentages with which they shoot the ball, both from free, three, and from two, has been a big factor in our success. And sometimes it's a couple of them, and sometimes it's all of them. And but I think one of our common denominators also has to be, as we're going to move forward, is our ability to defend and rebound. And if we can defend and rebound against the best teams in the country, understand Texas A&M was on the 2 line about a week and a half ago. That means they're one of the top 8 teams in the NCAA tournament. They're pretty good. Alabama is on the 2 line right now. So it's really hard to beat. And do it as consistently as we've done it. And that's why our quad 1 record is 16-3, because and those are not easy games to win, and we managed.
Coach, if Denver can't go tomorrow, will we see more of Chad Baker-Mazar and go to Baltimore?
Chad did a great job at Texas A&M playing the point, and as you guys know, right now, and I don't mind even talking about this, without any kind of appeal, Chad Baker has another year of eligibility. He does, because he fits all the criteria. Some of the other guys that have been talked about, I'm not going to specifically reference, but Chad is the one that right now qualifies. I could see him playing some some of it next year too, because you put the ball in his hands, he can make plays for himself, he can make plays for others. And so, yeah, he that was a no-brainer.
Right, Hogan and BMAT.
Yeah, back to sort of the will in terms of offensive rebounding. You said after the game, like they got a man up, and
Yeah.
you talked about being physical. How have they sort of responded behind the scenes to that challenge that I'm sure you're giving them?
I mean, I think they've responded well. Does Dahad give away some pounds? Does Miles? Does Chad Baker? I think those three guys all do. But Dylan or Janai or Cheney or Denver or Chris Moore, those guys aren't giving any pounds away. They're as big and strong and physical as anybody. So, but we're all, regardless of our size, we're all responsible for it. In the sense that, as you talk about, who are the best teams on our schedule? Is Tennessee? Is Florida? Was Iowa State? Was Houston? Was Duke? Is Alabama? What do they all have in common? They're all big. They're all tall. They're all long. They're strong. They're physical. They're older. So you want to beat the best teams on your schedule, then you have to deal with that physicality.
BMAT.
Bruce, just want to ask you about Janai again. He has 3 assists combined last 2 games. Do you think that's just you guys not making enough shots, or are teams sort of doing some things defensively to try to stop that inside-out game?
Well, we obviously shot it really well against Kentucky, and they weren't doubling the post, so that takes that game out. Texas A&M, they doubled it a little bit, but maybe we could have done a little better job inside out in that game. But
You think that one came down to rebounding, right?
yeah, we gave up 24 offensive rebounds. So
Not much else to say.
yeah,
Bama has dropped 4 of their last 6, but Mark Sears is averaging 28 a game his last 5. From the last time you guys saw him in Tuscaloosa, how do you feel like he's just taking his game to the next level offensively?
he's just a great player. He's a great winner. One of the best competitors I've ever gone against. And obviously his ability to score tough twos around the basket, his ability to play make, his ability to shoot with unbelievable range. He gets to the foul line a lot. And, so obviously he's just a great player. And as far as Alabama losing 4 of those 6 or whatever they've lost, you put those at a different point on anybody's schedule. Let's see, they lost at Tennessee. They lost to Florida at home, who's beaten us. They lost at Missouri. They've beaten everybody, almost everybody at home at their place. And who's the 4th? Tennessee, Florida, at Missouri. What would the 4th one be?
You, Auburn.
Huh? And us. Number 1 team in the country. Like if we don't win tomorrow, it won't be that we're in a slump. We lost at Texas A&M, and we're playing the number 5 ranked team in the country. We have to play brilliantly tomorrow. We have to shoot it. We have to keep them off the 3-point line. We got to play back in transition. Just a little too much analytics going on here today.
Last one, Jack.
Saw you on social media out with the students this
Yeah.
morning. It's their spring break. They could be going to the beach. I mean, as of after class today, they could be
Oh, really?
going anywhere, I believe so.
Is it spring break next
Well,
week?
starting Friday at 5:00. But they're all camping to be here. I guess.
Oh, that's awesome.
What that means, and maybe I know that you're important. It's important that they bring in
Yeah.
an advantage, but somewhere you have a line that you draw in terms of.
Well, I put something out there on social media today because we've got the best home court advantage in all college basketball. It is a most intimidating place to play. It is as loud and as hot as it gets anywhere. But we could do it without using bad language, and being we need to get after our opponent, but there's a way to do it in such a way that's proper. And so all I got to do is talk to our students about being Auburn men and Auburn women. I don't need to say another word. It says for itself. Now that we don't always receive that on the road, and when we don't receive it on the road, I don't think it's a good look. And so I don't want that look here. And I don't mind talking to our students about the fact that we got kids in the building. I don't live by this all the time. My wife reminds me of it, but every now and then my language needs to be better. And so I don't mind reminding our crowd about the right way to do it. And as far as the students being, I didn't even know next week was spring break. Next week's the SEC tournament. But you're right. I went out there today, and they're all out there. They could be at the beach. They could be anywhere they want to be, and they're here at Auburn. I just hope, the last time they camped out, I think, was Florida, and I hope we can give them a better showing than we did that night.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce.